up, it looked like that right there. It literally was just falling in. You can see it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I see now.
Pretty bad shape. So, the county acquired that property, they have rebuilt it. No nail guns, no air guns, no electrical saws. Everything was done by hand. They hand hewed the logs. The chimneys you see here, they reused all the stone from the old chimneys and built the new chimneys with it, okay? Mm-hmm. They put that cabin back on the original mud brick foundation. It is sitting exactly where that foundation was from 1828 or something like that. The steps in the front are the original steps. Look real close at those steps. There's two little steps, not here.
Oh, okay.
When you get over there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have,
No, go ahead.
I have to state that better. In the left top corner, there's two little set of feet print that are Preacher Ance Hatfield's grandchildren in the top of those steps.
Okay.
That is where Preacher Ance Hatfield lived. A lot of people think all the Hatfields were West Virginia and all the McCoys were Kentucky. Not so.
That's what I thought.
No.
Yeah.
There were McCoys the majority of the Hatfields lived in West Virginia, but there were some McCoys over there, and as this is a proof, there were Hatfields over here. Preacher Ance Hatfield and Devil Ance Hatfield are first cousins. And even to this day, I've heard them come up and talk to people, and they'll say, how are you related or whatever? And then the other one will say, well, I'm so-and-so's, and he'll scratch his head. I've seen it several times. Then I'll ask, are you a Creek Hatfield or a River Hatfield? Devil Ance and his family lived on the Tug River on the West Virginia side over at DeLorme. Preacher Ance, who are cousins, lived on Blackberry Creek. And there you get the Creek Hatfields and the River Hatfields, okay? In the movie, they showed Valentine Hatfield, Devil Ance's brother. They called him Uncle Wall, being the judge at the hog trial. And he was not the judge at the hog trial. Preacher Ance was, Devil Ance's first cousin. He lived right there. He was the local magistrate in the area and all that. Wall lived in West Virginia. He had no jurisdiction here in Kentucky, could not have done it if he'd have wanted to. Now, a little later, they showed him being the judge when Salmon Paris killed Bill Staten. Mm-hmm. That was accurate. That happened in West Virginia where he was the judge, and he literally did that one. Preacher Ance is Devil Ance's first cousin. He was the man over the hog trial here. So I had a chance to ask a man about it. See these three pictures here in the back? You hear my knees?
I know it.
Listen, I'm falling apart. That is Daryl Fetty. He's the producer of the miniseries on the History Channel. He's the one doing the Texas Rising now.
Yes, I wanted to watch that.
That is also Daryl Fetty. He played Doc Rutherford in the movie. He was one of the actors. And I think you know the other old bird sitting there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They say I look a lot like him.
Really? You do. I see the favoritism.
You know what?
I'm
I
just
like
going
you
to
a lot, but you just lied straight to my face.
I know it. I got to work it.
There you go. Anyway, Daryl Fetty has been here. Kevin Costner has not. But I got to talk to Daryl 2 years ago, and I asked him why they did that in the movie. I said, why did you change? I think he thought I was a country bumpkin, and then
Wouldn't know the difference.
yeah, he realized. And listen, we've done the guided tours. I've been in the houses and talked to them. I work with the professor from West Virginia, the historian in Pikeville. Plus, I've been around this all my life. I sit in houses and talk to them. Mm-hmm. And I said, Preacher Ance was the man who lived in the house. He was over the hog trial. And then he, a lot of the little things. And finally, he said, well, Devil Ance's name was Anderson, which it was. And Preacher Ance, his name was Anderson. Ance is short for Anderson. He said, we didn't want it to be confusing to people with the name Anderson, so we made Wall the judge. Well, that sounds good, but it's not, because nobody called either one of those guys Anderson. Devil Ance, in the movie, they had his wife calling him Anderson. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure she did that. She might have, but Devil Ance was called Devil Ance. Preacher Ance was Preacher Ance. They are first cousins. That's how they told them apart. They each had a brother named Elias to tell them apart. One was Good Elias, one was Bad Elias. And ironically, Devil Ance's brother was Good Elias, and the preacher's brother was Bad Elias. Just the opposite of what people would think. They could have done it accurately, but they didn't. When you get over there, that's one thing in the movie that was inaccurate, but when you get over there, here's something people don't realize. That's where the hog trial took place in 1878. But in 1880, this is where all the elections took place. This was the centralized voting location. So all those fields around there, that's where John C. met Roseanne in 1880. In 1882, that's where the three brothers. If you'll stand on that porch and look across the road, the big pine tree here, the road, there's a creek, the mountain's right here. You can't miss the mountain. To the left, it kind of opens up, and there's a little house right down next to that intersection. There's some apple trees. The other side of it are 3 or 4 houses. That open bottom there was an apple orchard. That's where the men all located. That's where the fight happened, about 100 yards from the front of that porch, right over to the left there. You've got 3 main things that happen at that next site right there when you get there. A couple other little things in the movie. Let's go to the end of the movie. They show Randall dying in a cabin fire at the end of the movie.
Right.
He was 88 years old, January of 1914, and he fell into a cooking stove at his grandson Melvin's house, burnt his arm and shoulder. Second and third degree burns. He developed infections. Then he developed pneumonia. And he died from the burns that he received from falling into a cooking stove.
The complications from it, right?
88 years old. He didn't burn up in the cabin fire. They showed Perry Klein chasing Roseanne around all the time, wanting to marry her.
Yeah.
Perry Klein was already married and had 8 kids. Now, I'm not stupid. Neither are you all. That don't mean you can't chase a woman.
Right.
But here's what they don't tell you. Perry Klein's sister was Martha Patty Klein. She was married to Asa Harmon McCoy. They were brother-in-laws. Randall's brother was married to... That's why every time something happened to Perry Klein, the McCoys got mad and vice versa. They were in-laws. And Randall and all of them lived here, and when Perry Klein, 2 of his younger children, in 1887 got sick, they called Roseanne and had Roseanne actually move in with he and his wife and help nurse 2 of his children back to health. They had typhoid fever. When this house was burnt January 1st of 1888, she was already over there nursing those kids, and they all moved in. That's why they moved to Pikeville and moved in with Perry Klein. They were in-laws.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Make sense?
Yes.
He's not chasing her around. They're in-laws. They made him look bad.
Right.
It wasn't that way. The property that Devil Anse got off of Perry Klein, they made him look bad there, like Devil Anse got it fair and square and Perry was trying to take it back. Devil Anse strong-armed that property. He never had a clear title and deed to any of it. That property was willed to him and his brother Jake, who was 12 years old at the time. He was 9, and his dad died in 58, I believe it was, 1858. He had already willed that property to him and had it recorded in 2 different locations in the courthouse. Devil Anse took that property from him because they were young boys. See, the movie didn't make it out that way. They were young boys when he took that property.
Mm-hmm.
He never paid him for it. They ended up trying to make another trade, and he said, well, I'll give you some more property on Peter Creek, and he never paid him for that. So when it came down to it, he finally started selling the pieces of property where he had it. By the way, that's where the Battle of Grapevine happened, too. It's on that 5,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
He literally couldn't read or write, Devil Anse couldn't, but he went and got I don't know if he got one or not, or if he just marked the lines off. He surveyed that property himself and changed the lines and everything. Later on in the early 1900s, after Perry Klein died 1 year after Cottonmouth was hung. He was hung in 1890. Perry Klein died in 1891 from TB. He was 43 years old. His children in the early 1900s went to the courthouse, got all the records and deeds and his will, where he willed it to his children. They went and got that property, went back to the people that Devil Anse had sold the property to, that didn't have a deed to it. They had to buy it back from them. You either pay us or get off because it was our property. He took it. See, that don't come out either. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot of little things like that. Anything else I can think of in the movie? But now, it sounds like I don't like the movie. The movie was good.
Right.
And it really was a good movie. There was a lot of things in it that was accurate. When Roseanne ran and got Devil Anse, her brothers had Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were going to kill him or if they were going to take him to Pikeville. Who knows? But that scene where Devil Anse catches them, sticks that gun under their noses, son, that happened. And when he stuck it under Jim's nose, this is Jim. By the way, I'll show you this picture here in a minute. This is Randall and his son Jim, the one who they respected more than any of them. He stuck that gun under his nose, told him, you bow. He said, I bow to no man, and I only pray to my God. That happened. And they respected him more than any of them. Tolbert and Farmer and them were on the ground crying and roll please. I think that had a lot to do 2 years later. See, that was in 1880. 2 years later, when they got in the fight over there, Tolbert got into it with Ellison.
Mm-hmm.
Ellison then was deputized and tried to arrest them, and he's also the one that arrested Sam and Paris when they killed Bill Staten, which worked on him. And they made fun of Paris, not Paris, but the Farmer and Tolbert, because of the squabbling and the crying for their lives, and Jim stood up to them. So when they get in that fight, they pull them knives, we're taking care of you.
So that's the real
And I'm not
reason
saying that
for
was
it.
right either.
Right.
But you can see where that caused a lot of, and they would publicly make fun of them. And, you know, a man's got pride sometimes. Don't ever laugh at your husband. We've got pride.
Right.
I hope he knows you're here with this guy.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay. Listen, there are so many things like that that people don't realize, and how these families were. I've had people say, why did they keep Uncle Jim Vance around? One of the meanest of us. Why didn't they just get rid of him? Because he was his uncle. Jim Vance's sister is Devil Lance Hatfield's mom. Her name was Nancy Vance Hatfield. They were related. Bill Staten, who testified against Randall and Sarah in the hog trial. Why would he testify against his own flesh and blood?
He was married into it, wasn't he?
No. He was a nephew to one and a cousin to the other. When Randall and Sarah got married, they were first cousins. That was not unheard of at that time. It happened a lot. I've had Hatfields come in and stand right there where you're at and kind of poke fun at it. Well, as soon as they do, I said, well, what about Cap Hatfield? He married his first cousin. And
Like back up.
yeah. And if it makes it any better, Cap was dating her. She was Nancy Smith, his first cousin. And about the time the boys were shot in 1882, he had to lay low for a while. She started dating a man by the name of Joe Glenn. She married him. They had 2 children. In 1884, all of a sudden, he's interested back in Nancy again. This is what I'm saying. I can always make an excuse for them. I'm not related to the Hatfields or the McCoys.
Right.
In 1884, they had 2 small children, and all of a sudden Cap gets interested in her. The next thing you know, Joe Glenn is found shot multiple times and dead, and nobody knows who did it. But within months, he married her. Now, you tell me.
Kind of
Yeah. So not only did he marry his first cousin, he killed her husband to do it. Now, if you're a Hatfield down there, what are you going to do about that? You know what I'm saying? There's always, I try to,
Right.
I'm not related to either, but I've studied enough, I'm not stupid about it either. Now back to Bill Staten. He was a nephew to one and a cousin to the other. When all this hog trial stuff took off, why would he testify against Randall in the hog trial on behalf of Floyd Hatfield? Well, Bill Staten had 2 sisters, Esther Staten and Sarah Staten. Esther was married to Floyd Hatfield, who Randall sued for the hog. They were brother-in-laws. He worked for Devil Lance and his timbering crew. Devil Lance was writing him a paycheck, or paying him. I'm sure he was.
Right.
And the other sister, Sarah Staten, was married to Devil Lance's brother Ellison, the one the 3 boys attacked. Literally, these 3 boys, if you want to go in a long roundabout way, some sort of an in-law, I'm sure, if they were married to a cousin of his or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just one big nasty mess.
So was Cotton Top really,
yes,
off?
it was. But
Because was it a family? Because 2 people
No.
shouldn't have married?
no, his mother was Harriet Mounts. She was a Mounts. Ellison had 10 kids of his own. They were Hatfield kids. And then they had him. He was born in 1864, the same time Cap was born. They were Civil War babies. Okay? Now, in the movie, they made him look baby-fied, la, la, la. Far from it. Far from it. Cap Hatfield hung around with him all the time. Cap was his buddy. And a lot of people, some of the McCoys started a little dirty rumor that he was an albino.
I saw something like
He had, you can see he had light colored hair. He didn't have pink eyes. He had light gray eyes, just like Ellison did, his dad. You can see the color in his eyebrows. He was not albino, but he was cotton top.
Right.
When he was hung, he was 26 years old, 6 foot tall, 185 pounds, shaved. He was a man. Mean as a snake. But here's the deal. He still had the little boy brain or whatever. He was a man. He could ride, shoot. He would help them in the woods, the garden, do whatever. Why do you think they brought him on the raid here? You don't take a little retarded, even if he's 50 years old. He was at the shooting of the 3 boys. He was at the Battle of Grapevine. Every time they needed a gun, he would do whatever they told him to do, but he didn't have enough sense to say no or enough conscience.
But did he really shoot the child? Or
That is controversial. The mother and Fanny and Adelaide, 2 of the daughters. Here's the thing. They caught the house on fire. Calvin, the boy that ended up getting killed, hollers at Alifair. Now, by the way, she was not a little girl. She was 29. Here's the sad part. She was very small and very petite. She looked young. She was crippled. She'd either had polio or a clubfoot or something. And even to this day, I've read Hatfield books. It makes me kind of mad. They call her the little homely crippled girl. She probably would have lived with mom and dad the rest of her life because they were getting married at 14, 15 years old then. Nancy was 16 when she married Johnson. He says, Calvin says, the house is on fire and they run out of the milk and they did all just like the movie showed. He tells her, run to the well and get some water. We need some water. They won't shoot a woman. She starts out the door, going to the well, and as she opens the door, Cap Hatfield and Cotton Top are together behind the well box. And he hollers at her, Cap hollers and tells her, don't move or I'll blow your GD heart out. They testify to this in court. I've seen the court records.
Mm-hmm.
And she stops, and the mother and Fanny and Adelaide, two of the sisters inside, hear the same thing. And she says, is that Cap Hatfield? And she says, that's Cap. He says he's going to shoot me, but he won't shoot a woman. She starts out the door, and a shot rings out. Nobody knows how many people Cap Hatfield killed. Now, as we go on, she falls down. The mother comes out and starts to call her, and Jim Vance comes around and hits her with a rifle butt and knocks her down. Then Johnson's on the other side of the porch, comes around, and he pistol whips her. See, Johnson's not the innocent person either.
Right.
And they all kick and stomp her. She had a fractured skull, broken collarbone, 3 broken ribs, not in the front, next to the spine in the back. And you know, that takes some, she had a broken hip. They thought they had killed 3 people. When they left, they thought 3 people were dead, and she actually pulled through. Mm-hmm. So all of this stuff goes on. Well, after trial, after they leave here, Cotton Top was wounded in the arm. A bullet went in here and came out his elbow. He was losing blood. Johnson was shot with some buckshot or something in the shoulder. He pulled through, no big deal. Tom Mitchell had run around the back, tried to stick a thing under the back of the leaves of the shaker roof, the wood, and they let off a shotgun blast, blew 3 of his fingers off. So they were shot up a little bit, but Calvin was dead, the daughter was dead. In the courthouse, they asked the mother to testify, and she testifies. She hears Cap holler that. And the daughters hear it, they testify the same thing, and hear Alifair say they won't shoot a woman, and then they hear the shot ring. So they testify Cap shot her. But he would then say, no, it was me.
Oh.
Now, Cap, on their way back in the next few days, had told him, if you ever get caught or captured with this, you tell him you did it. See, he's the... Cap was his hero. You did a real good job. I'm going to get you a rifle. I'm going to get you a saddle. I'm going to give you $500. He got the Winchester rifle. He got the saddle. He didn't get the $500.
Mm-hmm.
So in the trial, he's testifying, doing exactly. That's why in the movie they portrayed him right. They said that they were going to come get him, and he kept looking like they were going to come get him. He thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't going to come get him. Now, as soon as they start handing out these sentences, life in prison, life in prison, life in prison, they come to him, death by hanging. He then does the crawdad. Wait a minute, it wasn't me. His lawyer, Mr. Conley, filed an appeal. Perry Klein would not accept it. He said, somebody's got to die for this or whatever. He was their scapegoat. Now, whether he did it or not, but that's what was testified to. The Hatfields all swear that Cotton Top did it. The McCoys in their testimony swear that it was Cap.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there.
Right.
I'm giving you both sides, so you can take that. And a stick of gum will make your breath smell good most of the morning. But it's just an amazing story, you know.
Is.
And where I've sat and talked to him, I've heard so many other things. I found so many things out. A lot of the books talk about Randall, how he found his sons. I've got a court document here that we sell. He goes to Pikeville. He never saw his sons again until they were burying him. Jim, the son. I'm going to have to show you this picture. This is Randall. This is Jim McCoy, the son, the one that stood up to him. Mm-hmm. And these are all family members. If you'll notice, they're standing right there in front of the well. The picture was taken in 1901, 13 years after they'd been burned out and had moved to Pikeville. His wife had already died. She died around 1894. He come back to visit the old home site and to visit his 6 children's graves on the hill, and they took that picture. And Gary McCoy gave me a copy of this. He also gave me this other picture here. Let me show you this one. This is a controversial picture. 3 brothers laying right up here on the cabin floor in 1882 before they buried him. There's a man that's got a book out now. His name's Tom Dotson. He says these are not the 3 brothers. These are 3 men up in West Virginia. He's one of these that knows it all. He's debunking everything in the movie, everything in the books. When they had this thing they filmed up here in November, some of the Hatfields were here. I was right there, and they said, if Tom Dotson's coming here, they don't even like him, but he's on their side of the family. He's just one of these guys that knows it all. Nobody can stand him. So I asked Gary McCoy, who gave me these pictures, copies of them. I said, Gary, are those the 3 brothers or not? He kind of laughed, and he said, well, Neil, I can't guarantee it. He said, now, having said that, why would this have been handed down to us, 3 dead men laying on a porch? And he said, and he called Uncle Randall's cabin. if it wasn't the three boys. He says, now, we can't prove it. And he said, down the road, if it is proven it's not them, then we're awful because these pictures have been handed down to us each time. I said, well, what about the three men in the background? I thought they might be brothers to the three that were killed. Randall and Sarah had 16 children. You're going to have to hurry up if you're going to catch that.
Yeah.
15 of them lived. One daughter died 3 days after birth in 1857. So they raised 15 kids. When these three boys were killed, they still had Jim, Sam, Floyd, Calvin, William, and Lilbert. Still had 6 sons alive. So I'm thinking these might be the brothers.
3 dead ones and 3 live ones.
Yeah. He said no. And he whipped out some more pictures. And they're grainy, just like these. You know, you can't see the faces real well on them. But the pictures he showed me look just like these two guys right here. He said that is Sam and Paris, the two cousins who killed Bill Staten after the hog trial. And then he says this is Randall on the right side. And that's when it gave me this picture. And he said, look at Randall. Said, put a hat on him. Look at the dark inset eyes, high cheekbones, and look at the facial features. And it does. It looks like it. Now, whether it's him or not, I don't know. So I'm telling people both sides of it, and it's up to you to believe, but that's the deal. Until this guy started writing that book sometime back, but he don't like anybody. Dean King's got a real good book out called Feud. It was People's Choice Award winner last year out of Virginia. He says it's a good book, and he debunks everything in it. He's just he would swear up and down that this is a green shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One of them make you believe.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I've got all kinds of pictures in here. I sat in their houses. I was over at Beach Creek. See that picture there with the cabin? That picture was taken the same time that this picture here was taken. This picture was taken first. See the little boy on the left in the front, Tennyson?
Here.
Yeah, see how mean he's looking, how mad he is? They took this picture first, and this is Cap and his family, and this is one of his boys holding a pistol. He wanted to hold a pistol, and they wouldn't let him. So that's why he's looking mean. Now, like I said, I was over at Beach Creek, where that's where that cabin was at. But I've never seen it or anything, you know. That's my neighbor who owns that property up there, and they're working on his driveway, so I guess he's just going to drive through the grass. But that's our easement from my property to his and his to mine, so what am I going to say?
Yeah.
But he didn't want 20 people getting off the bus the other day walking up through there because it was raining, because he was afraid to have to sow grass. But we've never sowed grass, and we've had hundreds of people get off the bus. I'm just saying he's contemporary. He's just honorary deal. But anyway, back to this. I was talking to Lawrence Hatfield, working on his phone. He was 88 or 89 years old. This was in 1998. And his name is Lawrence Hatfield. He is Valentine Hatfield, the judge, his brother's grandson. And he said, young man, do you know what that is over there? And there was a stone, probably half the length of this, not quite as long as this opening of this garage door, probably this wide, this thick, and they'd made a bench out of it, had stone sitting under it. I said, no, sir, I don't. He said, you remember the famous photo of the Hatfields in front of the cabin? I said, yeah. He said, that is the hearthstone to the fireplace from that cabin. Some chill bumps popped up on me, and I was standing there talking. And he showed me a couple guns that he had, that Wall had, and different things. Then I said, well, Mr. Hatfield, where was that cabin? He went like this. We're standing on it. Sign. My hair stood up, what little bit I had, and all. Then we started talking. But that's what I'm saying. I've seen all kinds of things like that, and they've showed me places, showed me where the houses sat, where the old schoolhouse sat, where the boys were shot. And it's just something to sit and talk to them. I talked to C.W. Hatfield last night at the store. He's Ellison Hatfield's great-great-grandson. Ellison was the one killed by the three boys. He had a son named Elliot, who was 15 years old when he was killed. And he is Elliot's grandson. Yeah. So, I mean, they'll just sit and tell you things, and it's just an amazing story. And here I'm right in the middle of it. And the more I can find out about it, the better off I am. You know?
Yeah.
And then when we did the tours, we didn't even go to Pikeville. Pikeville is, like I say, is aftermath. We would drive down here. We'd start in Williamson. We would drive 110 miles, see 18 sites. We'd start at 9 in the morning, and we'd get done about 5:30 in the evening. It was an all-day deal. Of course, you knew it when you started.
Right.
$40 a head. We stopped and eat dinner. You were responsible for your dinner. When we went, we would eat at one of the McCoy places or one of the Hatfield places that served. I mean, it was just nostalgic the whole
Which
day.
is where? Where do?
We would do most of them on weekends. Right in downtown Maitland, there's a little place down there called Ringo's Grill. They're only open on Fridays and Saturdays. It's a barbecue place. Wings, pulled pork, and all that. They make their own sauces. Don McCoy runs it. He is Asa Harmon McCoy's great-great-grandson. Then there was a little place at Hatfield Bottom. It's called Hatfield Bottom, and there was the Hatfield Grill. I think they've now changed it to some type of a griddle skillet or something like that. I think he's out of it. But we would take one of the two places there. They were there during, if we did one during the week, we would go there. On the weekends, we'd go to the McCoy place. Because they're only open on Fridays and Saturdays.
Right.
And, but yeah, we would, I mean, just things like that. I'd take you to see where I know these guys. I could drive by. You could drive by here. There's no sign over there. It could be a house where Devil Anse sat or Ellison lived. And I would point things out and all this. You know, it makes a difference when you know the area.
Right, when you get a scoop.
And we had a 5-star rating with TripAdvisor. I mean, we did well, but where I had my back surgery, my hip surgery, the old gray mare ain't what she used to be. I know I'm turning 21 now,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is what it is. Listen, you're welcome to walk up and look any that you want. You're welcome to look through any of these pictures.